Here are the two CVs and cover letters which have gotten me a job at a Big Four accounting firm, i.e. KPMG, within the risk advisory division, and also at a Big Four Australian bank, i.e. Westpac, as a risk manager within consumer banking. Hi everyone, my name is Sanjana. If it's your first time here, I talk all things career, personal finance and self-development. I'd love it if you can subscribe to my channel. Make sure you stay towards the end of this video because I'm going to show you how my CV and cover letter has evolved over the years. Obviously, as I've grown up and I've matured and learned a lot through the industry, my CV and cover letters have evolved as well. I personally feel that CVs are subjective. There's no real wrong or right answer. However, there are a few key things which are very important and you should definitely pay close attention to. So I joined KPMG in 2017. Here is my offer to join the Sydney team within the internal audit and assurance risk and control services group, which forms part of the advisory division. Let's start off with the cover letter, which I sent to all Big Four. So that's KPMG, EY, Deloitte and PwC. Now I got a response from Deloitte and KPMG, obviously, because I got hired there. As you can tell, you really can't predict which firm is going to accept you and deny you of your CV or cover letter. It's really a trial and error kind of game. So make sure you keep your head held high because you just never know what might happen. Now, if we have a look at my cover letter here, this is the one I sent to EY. This is the same that I sent to KPMG. I just wasn't able to find that one. Now, you want to make sure you've got your contact details in the top right corner or the left-hand side, and make sure you've got that clearly detailed there so that they can contact you if they've got any questions or they want to maybe interview you for the next step. Then you want to address who you are sending this letter to with a date, and if you know the name of the recruiter, that's a bonus if you can add that there. Then you want to start off by talking about who you are, providing some very relevant but high level information about yourself around your work experience and your level of study. You also want to make sure you include the job that you're applying for and if possible the job number. Then you want to expand on your experiences and talk about why you believe you have the right skills for the job. This is where you talk about relevant work experience that you've got that ties in well with the job description. You also want to make sure you utilize the job description words or phrases in your cover letter and your CV so that when it does come time to being read by the ATS system, which is their tracking system, it will pick up that your CV is a good match. Then you want to expand on your interests and how you believe it may help with the job. And then you want to make sure you close off and sign off. And essentially a few key things about a cover letter: it should be very simple, stick to a black and white theme if possible, or a singular color throughout. And you want it to be concise, to the point, straightforward, and essentially keep it to one page. Okay, now let's go through the CV that I sent to KPMG, and this is the one that got me hired for the graduate position. Now, having a look at this CV, I can say that if I was to go back, I would definitely update this, and this wouldn't have been the one that I would send today. However, there are a few key things that I want to emphasize here. You can see that I've got my contact details up above. You want to make sure this is up there and visible so that they can contact you. I don't have a photo on my CV as well. You don't want them to discriminate you against, how you look or even where you live as well. Don't put your address on your CV. I've got an objective at the top to start off with. This is something that I personally would not include at the moment if I was to redo my CV. I've got my education and training, which was relevant at the time. Then I've got some of my achievements. So my first page is a snapshot of who I am, what I've done, and giving them an insight as to what I am good at, really. Then moving on to the second page, I've got all of my work experience outlined in terms of my employer, position and the duties, and the date at which I was working at these organizations. Following on from that, I've got my languages, technical skills, activities, and my references, of course. But let's move on to Westpac. Now, at Westpac, I joined as a risk manager within the consumer banking division within the Sydney office, and I was actually headhunted by recruiters, which was amazing because then they took my CV and passed it over to the hiring managers directly. In terms of the cover letter, this was the exact same as the one I showed you earlier, except obviously I changed the details to address it to Westpac. So this is the CV that got me hired for the risk manager position at Westpac. As you can see, the formatting is very different to the one I showed you earlier. This one is a little bit more minimal. It looks a little bit more professional, I personally would say, but as again, we all know CVs are quite subjective. I feel this is a little bit easier on the eyes as well. It is quite concise as well, and you can really pick up a few of the key details that I'm trying to share here. So on the first page, obviously contact details are up above. I've got some key skills which I believe were relevant to the job description at the time around risk management, obviously critical and analytical thinking, process improvement, things like that. I've also got a personal summary here as well, which is different to my career objective in the last CV that we saw. I think this is a good way to paint a picture for who you are. Then I've got my education and training on the side here. I've also got then my professional experience as well, and I've outlined it in terms of key responsibilities and achievements. It's very important to include your achievements because that is what identifies you and how good you are at your job. Then moving on to the next page, I carry on with my professional experience. I've also got my interests as well, which is quite good just to paint a picture as to what you do outside of your 9 to 5 as well. I've got some awards, and obviously my references are available upon request. Remember, it's references, not referees. Now, a couple of years later, I decided to sit down and update my CV and my cover letter to make sure it was exactly what I wanted it to look like in terms of the information I wanted to share. I wanted to make sure I utilized the space effectively without overloading it with information. So this is a CV that I've finally come up with now. So as you can see, I've utilized the color blue. I feel like that is quite a professional color and it's not an overload of, different colors and patterns going on. So at the top, I've got my name, I've got my contact details, a little bit about who I am and what my title currently is or my expertise is. Then on the left-hand side, I've got my skills. These are all the skills relevant to any job that I was going to apply for in terms of risk management or, internal audit type of work. Then I've got my technical skills. So these are different skills as opposed to your theoretical skills. Then I've got my education down the side. Then we've got my professional experiences. These are again the same as the previous CV, as you can see. However, this just looks a little bit more enhanced. There's more information, less wastage of space as well. And I've got a lot of responsibilities, a lot of achievements as well. And we just work our way all the way down to the next page where I've got my interests on there. I've got languages, my volunteering experience as well. And then we've got our references at the bottom. So in terms of my cover letter, if I was to update that now, that would look something like this. Got my name at the top, I've got my contact details, my location, the job that I'm applying for, the date, to whom it may concern, and I've started off talking about the same sort of things but in a more professional manner and a little bit more detailed as well, and really trying to pinpoint how I am well suited to the job according to the job description. So in summary, it really doesn't matter how you present your CV, but as long as it is in the realm of being professional, minimal and concise, and you are staying to the point, I think that is what really matters within a CV and a cover letter. I will make sure to have the links of the cover letters and the CVs that I have mentioned in the description box down below so that you can use them for your reference or your next job application as well if you are looking at applying for a job in the near future. I would really appreciate it if you can follow me on my Instagram and my TikTok, and make sure you do subscribe to my channel down below as it helps me out a lot. And that is it, guys. I will catch you guys in my next video. Thanks, guys.